Hi guys, it's Becca. I hope everybody is starting off strong this January. I have two things to talk about today. Proko, my Proko anatomy studies, and also a personal project, so something a little different than the usual studies. I will start with the Proko though, because I think that's what most of you guys are more interested in, but let me know in the comments what kind of content you find more interesting. Before I jump into the nitty-gritty of the actual stuff I was studying, I just wanted to say, after going through a couple of these lessons through Proko, that I have been so impressed with the Proko anatomy lessons. They are very robust. They are 3D models, there are multiple video lessons, there's homework exercises, and there's critiques, which is just all together makes a very cohesive learning experience. So I've enjoyed working through this stuff, and I'm really impressed by how professional the content is and how effective it is when you have multiple study resources. So, a little side note about that. I also because I had this other personal project going, I cut down my time to 1 hour a day for study, and I was shocked at how much more enjoyable it was just making a little time adjustment, working a little bit less. I can't believe these words are coming out of my mouth, but I actually started looking forward to the anatomy studies because I knew it wasn't going to be such a grind. It was just going to be pretty quick, and when it was done, it was done. So that was surprising to me, and I guess maybe something to think about when I'm working on something that isn't my favorite topic, to maybe cut down the time a little bit and just slow down so that I can enjoy the process more. So this last 2 weeks I've been doing an hour a day, and it has been much better for my mental health and my mindset. So on to the nitty gritty. This week, or these last 2 weeks, I was working on the shoulder girdle and the pec muscles. So the shoulder girdle, the shoulder bones include the clavicle and the scapula, and they connect here-ish. And unlike the pelvis and the rib cage, you can't do the old put it in a box trick, which is really helpful when you're trying to construct something, but because it's a very spindly kind of form, and also it moves so much. I mean, you can even see here, your clavicle moves, your scapula moves, everything moves around, so it's not reliable to put it in a specific shape or construct it around a shape. That being said, even after a week of looking at this stuff and going over the exercises, I felt like my understanding of it increased tenfold. I always do the same process, so I do the drawing from the photo reference and then I copy Stan's drawing. So that's what I did, and they're not great drawings, they're not perfect, there's a lot of mistakes, but I did learn a lot, and I think kind of for my first pass at this, while I still have a very superficial understanding, I was pretty happy with sort of getting the general idea of how that structure works. After that, I moved on to the pecs, so this was my first muscle lesson after doing all of the bones of the torso. And that was actually much easier. The muscles are a little bit more flexible, they're different on different people, and they're obviously more soft forms. They're not quite as structural as the bones are. So I did see a lot of progress on that, and I enjoyed working through that. It was interesting. It's just, you start to see, honestly, it's like a magic power. You start to see things that you had no idea what they were before. What used to be a lump is now all of a sudden this very important piece of information that you can use when you draw. And to me, that's basically drawing magic. So lots of progress on the anatomy this week. It's going well so far, and I think I'm gonna stick with the hour a day routine because that seems to be working very well for me. So lastly, I wanted to talk about this little personal project that I did. If you had watched a couple weeks ago, maybe months ago, I had a video where I was talking about how I felt like I was scared, but that I needed to start doing my own projects and not just studying all the time and trying to perfect my knowledge and my skills and actually, actually make something before I died, because at the rate I was going, I will be studying till I'm 100 and never actually make anything. So it's a little scary for me, but I started this project and I said I was gonna do it in 2 weeks. So I made this little series of paintings on a wooden bunting flags as it's a gift for somebody. But it was just a fun little project that I thought of, and it's very outside my comfort zone, very outside my skill set. I don't really know how to paint that well. Especially with acrylics, I don't understand color very well at all, and I haven't really done anything where I was making up my own scenes or anything like that. So it was kind of a wild project for me. I had originally intended on using a technique that I learned from Society of Visual Storytelling. It's a website, it's an educational art website. There's a course on there by Will Terry, and he's an illustrator, and he makes these beautiful, just like gorgeous, luminous paintings with acrylic paint using a dry brush technique. And I just love the way they look. I think they're so lively and stunning and just nothing like you'd think about when you think about acrylic paint. So I watched the video and ultimately it just didn't work at all because I think it was because the wood surface I was using was just too porous, too rough. So the technique didn't really work. So I was kind of like flying blind out there, but it did have sort of a process. So I did the thumbnails, I did some more polished sketches using photo references, and then I transferred it onto the little flags, and then I did my best job painting it that I could. Some are obviously better than others, but ultimately this was a lot of stuff that I was uncomfortable with. It was a pretty sloppy process, I would say, kind of a hot mess, pretty inefficient. I had to redo things a lot of times, but ultimately my goal was to get it done, and it is done. So it's good to know where you're starting from. So that was my big first of 2019 project. Let me know what you guys think. Let me know what kind of content is more interesting to you, if you prefer the more cut and dry academic stuff, or if you're interested in seeing this kind of stuff as well. Let me know. Thank you so much for watching. Onto the drawings.